wife, Adela, and the interviewer is Ralph Ramirez, and we're at the home of Joe Nanadiego, and it's Nanadiego in Orange, California. Today, July 3rd, it's about 3:30 p.m. In the afternoon, so we're beginning the interview. I'll start, General. One of the things that we always try to start with is kind of framework for you've been. And you were born, what was the month and date? Can you give me your birthday, what city and province you were born in?
Okay. I was born September 5, 1919 in the town of Mulanay, province of Tayabas.
Can you spell that for the person who has to transcribe it may not be able to spell Mulanay?
Yeah, Mulanay is spelled M-U-L-A-N-A-Y, one word. And the province is Tayabas, T-A-Y-A-B-A-S, Tayabas. Now, Quezon province.
And what kind of community was the state, the province of Tayabas? But more importantly, what was Mulanay like?
Mulanay is a fifth-class municipality. In the Philippines, municipalities are classified first class, second class, third class, fourth class, and my town is fifth class, the last class, you know. It's a small town which has about 3 to 5,000 inhabitants. And under the Commonwealth, you know, the town was headed by a municipal president. It has 6 councilors, you know, and a vice president.
So it'd be like a mayor and
Yeah.
city council?
You know, before the Commonwealth, or even during the Commonwealth already, the highest ranking public official in a municipality is municipal president. In Spanish or in Filipino, it's called Presidente Municipal. And the next highest ranking public official is the vice president.
And what kind of a community was it? And how was it in relationship to Manila? How far away? And what kind of town was it?
It's about, it's about maybe about 400 kilometers south of Manila. And it is now accessible by road transportation and water transportation, by sailboats, motorboats, and steamships. Now,
Is it part of Luzon?
it's a part of Luzon, yeah. It's a part of Luzon. It is in the southern Luzon.
Now, is it a mountain area or tropical?
Oh, it's a rolling country. So much so that in my town is a grazing land. So, you know, people raise cattle, you know, carabaos, you know, and domesticated pigs and chicken, you know. It's a rural, it's agricultural, essentially. And as I
Wait a second until the plane goes over. It picks that up too.
I see,
But, so agricultural community, so while that's going, we can chat with Wallace for you. But so your family is in this agriculture area. And what did your family, what the size of your family, mother and father, and did you all live at home and things like that?
yeah. Our family, you know, my father and my mother, you know, then we have, I have 9 brothers and sisters, you know. The Filipino family is normally bigger than the American families today, you know. We have plenty of time to raise the children, you know. So that's why we normally have big families. My family is, we have 9 brothers and sisters, and my wife has 11 brothers and sisters, just to show you how big the families are, you know.
Now, were you the eldest or the middle or the youngest?
You know, I'm the middle child. I'm the middle. I am fifth from the first and fifth from the last. I was a middle child. You know.
Now, and you went to elementary and high school in Molinaya?
Yeah, I did. You know, I'm a product of the public school system, and I finished my 44 years in primary and 3 years intermediate in Molinaya.
One of the things that's different about the Philippines is because of the public school systems versus, say, Java or Indonesia or Borneo or even most any of the Southeast countries, China, Formosa, they didn't have any of those things.
Yeah.
Could you kind of contrast the way the Philippines was from the other countries and why?
You know, it has been, you know, the Philippines was under Spain for 400 years before United States of America came, you know. And the Spanish government emphasized the teaching of religion. As a matter of fact, we got our religion from Spain. But upon arrival of the Americans, they instituted the public school system. So much so that we also always claim that while the Spain give us religion, United States give us education. That's why upon arrival of the American troops in the Philippines, immediately they instituted the public school systems coming from the primary going up. Now Spain, on the other hand, started with universities. So much so the University of Santo Tomas is older than Harvard University. That's our claim, and that's really true, because Spain immediately instituted the universities in the Philippines before the primary schools were established. Yeah.
So that there was a long history of education.
Yeah, that's correct. You know.
So when you're going to school, I'll wait for that plane to get by. When you're in a flight pattern, you pick up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We get used to it,
Mm-hmm.
but the microphones pick up everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to ask about when you went to school, what was the kind of school? What kind of subjects were taught? And did you go from morning until dark, or did you go 1 hour or 5 hours? How often did you go to school?
Okay. Starting from the primary school, you know, up to my graduation from the intermediate school, classes start at 7 o'clock in the morning. At 7 o'clock. It ends at 11:30. It starts at 2 o'clock, then up to 5 o'clock. So a whole day, you know, a public school pupil, you know, starts schooling at 7:30 and end at 11:30, resume at 1:30, and ends at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
And that was pretty much all over the Philippines.
Yeah, all over. That's all over the Philippines, you know.
And what is it you liked about school, or didn't like?
Well, you know, I always loved to go to school. You know, I was, you know, a studious, you know, from the very beginning, and additionally, you know, in those days, you know, we were partly Spanish, you know, Spanish culture, you know, the Philippine American culture, you know, studying, you know, is forced upon us, you know. During my time, you know, the axiom is the biblical axiom: spare the rod and spoil the child is prevalent, you know. That's why if you don't go to school, your father will whip you to attend school, you know. And you know, during those days, you know, whipping, spanking the child is normal. It's normal. And if that is the punishment, if you don't go to school, you're spanked by your parents, you know. That's why we were forced to study, you know. Finished at least elementary school system, that is compulsory for young people,
Well, in the high school, you had to take an exam, didn't you, advance?
Pardon?
To go to your intermediate in high school, did you have to pass an exam to go to that? Or was it all free and required?
No, you don't have to. You have to pass every year, to go up the ladder, You have to pass every year. But in my town, all people of student age, normally finish 7th grade. Normally 7th grade. And after 7th grade, then you have to go to the capital of the province. In my case, I have to go to the capital of the province, Lucena, to study high school, High school is not available in those days, in my days, High school is not available in small municipalities.
So you went to the capital of Lucena,
Yeah.
which is the capital of Tayapas
Yeah.
province. Now, why did you pursue more education? You could have quit at 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you, and why did you decide to go? And did your parents help? What was it that made a difference versus your other friends who were in the same school?
We belong to a middle class people, We can afford to send children after graduation from the elementary school to high school. So, because we can afford to go to high school, I went to high school, And all my brothers and sisters, had to go to high school.
But I was trying to think, so it was a requirement from your family, that it was expected of you to go to school?
Well, when I was in the elementary school, I have an elder brother who was already in Manila, He's starting high school, and eventually he took up law, So the younger brothers, look up at him, as example. So in my case, for instance, because my brother finished law, I went to law school upon completion of my high school in Lucena. I have to go to Manila,
And how far was it from Molanay to Lucena that you had to commute to go to school?
Yeah, well, in those days, during my days in the high school, we have to travel to Lucena by boat. There was no land transportation available. See? So we have to take the motor launch or sailboats to go to the city.
And how far was that? How long did it
Oh, it must be about land transportation. Must be about to Lucena alone. It must be about 200 to 300 kilometers.
So that you actually lived there then?
So,
Lived at school?
yeah, if I had to go to high school, I had to live in Lucena for the whole school year.
And did you live with a family or a dormitory, or were there schools? How did that work?
I had relatives. If you are from Tayabas, you will have relatives almost anywhere. So, when I was in the high school, I was living with my uncle. I have an uncle, who had a pharmacy store, So I had to live there,
So you had a nice family atmosphere?
Oh yeah, we had, a very, very a Catholic, family. So
Which went to
yeah.
the church every weekend?
Oh yeah, I still remember, if it is your birthday, they do not greet you happy birthday until after you have gone to church. And they do not give you any gift. I have an uncle, he was the pharmacist, and normally on my birthday he gives me perfume, or lotion, anything, or pomade, And he will not give you that, until after you have gone to church.
So you had a good church upbringing because that's just the way it happened.
Yeah, that's right.
One of the things that in school, what was it that you liked about school? Now you had some good examples because you're older brothers and sisters, but what excited you about school? What interested you?
Well, I believe in. I'm from childhood. I want to compete. I'm to compete. And modesty aside, I finished my elementary grades. Grade 1, grade 2, and grade 7 as number 1 in the class. As number 1 in the class. That's why when I finished this elementary grade, I graduated valedictorian. They call it valedictorian. If you are number 1 in your 7th grade, you graduate as a valedictorian. So when I went to high school, I was given free tuition. That is the reward. If you are number 1 in your class, you go to high school, free matriculation, free tuition. And the beauty of that, we had about, at the time, we have about 30 municipalities in the province of Tayabas. Because there was only one high school in the whole Tayabas. The best, from all the municipalities converged in Lucena. And that's where we compete, And I really normally fond of competing,
Well, I would assume that the competition was fierce to be valedictorian.
Yeah.
And what did you like about school? What classes and subjects that you liked?
Yeah, well, I'm especially fond of English literature. I am, the English, the books that were prescribed in the high school are books prescribed in the United States. You see? That's why for instance, I remember, when I was in the first year in the high school, our English literature was Evangeline by Longfellow. By Longfellow, I remember it was Longfellow. This is the forest primeval, the murmuring pines and the hemlocks, bearded with gas, mossing garments green, indistinct in the twilight. See, these are. As a matter of fact, I'm still a special fan of poetry. That's why I love Longfellow. The Children's Hour. I love Edgar Allan Poe, The Raven. And then Annabelle. See, that's where I compete, That's why I was, at one time, I graduated from high school as the class orator, That's why, that's why I said, my father, at the very start, felt that I should be a lawyer. See, and that's what happened to me,
So when you finished valedictorian in Lucena,
yeah.
That was a big deal.
No, not in Lucena. I was an honor student. I was the class orator in Lucena, in the Tayabas High School. But in the elementary school, I was the valedictorian in my class.
Well, then now you've been a good student. You love literature, and you decided on maybe a career, and you thought maybe you'd go to law school. And now you had to go from Lucena, 200 miles from home, to Manila, which is about 400 miles from home. 500 miles. How was that transition? How you've been going away from home and all that?
Oh,
And
yeah.
but you had a brother and a sister also
Yeah.
in school. Tell me about that.
Okay.
And what school did you go to?
When I was sent to Manila, when you leave the classes in the Philippines,
Let's wait for that. We'll pick that up too. Would the machine pick that up?
See?
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear that? Or can we continue? Can we continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Now, you said the classes were different at the law school. How did that work out at the university?
In Manila, I first my first course, in Manila was I took the AA, Associate in Arts, and well, it was not exciting, not very exciting because it was only the basics, to take up. We are required when we take the Associate in Arts, we are required to finish 60 units with Spanish. Now, the reason why, if you take the Associate in Arts in the Philippines, normally you go to college, In college, we were taking Spanish Civil Code, the books in Spanish, and the references are in Spanish. That's why you have to know basic Spanish, because the Civil Code of the Philippines is patterned after the Civil Code of Spain. In the same manner that your Civil Code in California is also patterned under Civil Code of Spain. So we have to understand, you should be able to read Spanish. That's why you have to take 2 years of Spanish courses,
And that was the subject you enjoyed? What was the one that you enjoyed the most?
Well, I enjoyed the most, anything in law, political law, for instance, constitutional law, for instance, interested me. And I am still interested, in all the subjects, so much so that, when the court of the appellate court in California declared the Pledge of Allegiance as unconstitutional, that interests me. And so much so, last night I was listening to a video of the reaction, of the American community to the decision of the court. You see? And by the way, there is one good program last night of a reply to what happened to the United States because of those decisions, decisions that take us apart from God, Very good, I'll suggest that we go over that. I'm ordering a video of that in Channel 25.
Well, the discussions, constitutional law has always been, I'm very much a constitutionalist, and I'm very fascinated when challenges come to constitutional-based law. There's always, we call it administrative law, and there's base law, and there's constitutional law. And the big difference between administrative and base law.
Definitely.
But when you went to, you're in Manila, and what school did you go to?
Far Eastern University in the college,
And then you went to the law school, right?
Yeah, law school,
On the plane. You were on a flight pattern
Yeah.
for the airport, both for the Orange County airport.
John Wayne, yeah.
And we get so accustomed to it because my home is on a flight pattern, and that same kind of thing.
Oh.
Now, you were at Far Eastern University, and that's in Manila.
Yeah, Manila.
And there's law schools, we call them, there's accredited law schools, there's non-accredited law schools. And I know Far Eastern, so could you explain how the differences in the law schools in Manila?
In Manila, you have the University of the Philippines, which is a public school. Well, you have a very strong faculty. During the Commonwealth, the University of the Philippines had a dean in the person of Justice Malcolm. Was one of the justices of the Supreme Court of the Philippines, and he was even known in the United States. Now, that is the public school, but we have also in Manila Catholic schools. Ateneo de Manila, for instance, is a Catholic school. It's run by the Jesuit fathers. Then another university in the college, San Sebastian, is also run by Recollectos, And we have about a handful of private schools run by private individuals. One of them is Paris University, then Arellano University, College of Law. Then you have University of Manila, You have Manuel El Quezon University, These are the schools colleges that we have in the Philippines when the war broke out. And when the war broke out, I was a student in the Paris University. Now, liberation, I re-enrolled, enrolled in the University of the Paris University to finish my college course. But I finally landed. I joined the Manuel El Quezon University, which has recently established, and I graduated from there.
So now, I'm going to step back a little bit now. During the 10-year transition period, let's talk about that period of time and when you required people to be trained in the military forces and then how you got involved. Let's talk about that period of time when you were involved.
Okay.
And when did you get
During the 10 years transition period, that is the Commonwealth, under the Philippine legislature enacted what is known as Commonwealth Act Number 1. Commonwealth Act Number 1 is otherwise known as the National Defense Act. The National Defense Act was drafted by a staff under General Douglas MacArthur. And this staff was headed by no less than Major Dwight Eisenhower, who became the commander of the Expeditionary Force in Europe and finally the President of the United States. Under the Commonwealth Act, otherwise known as National Defense Act, the 20-year-old, all 20-year-olds, were required to undergo 5.5 months training. This was 5.5 months training for all able-bodied men, not women, men, This Common Act envisioned the creation of a citizens' army. And from these trainees who undergo 5.5 months training, we expected to produce at least 100,000, every year, And by the end of the 10 years transition period, we expected a sizable, military force. That's why all able-bodied men, have to undergo 5.5 months training. I am a product of that of the training, and I was with the class A 1940 of the training camp, the 1st Engineering Battalion, in Camp Murphy, Quezon City.
And what kind of training, what kind of equipment did you have when you were first trained? Were you American officers, Filipino officers, or what was that?
In my case, for instance, when I was trained in Camp Murphy, we have Filipino officers. Our first, the battalion commander of the 1st Engineer Battalion, under which I trained, is a graduate of West Point. Antonio Chanco, he was a graduate of West Point. And while we were provided the proper instruction, equipment, we were short of equipment. I recall that in the 1st Engineer Battalion, we were trained in the laying of barbed wire, we constructed the pontoon bridges, across the river, and basic infantry training. We have the normal drill, in the morning, and then we go to, how to blast the dynamite, and construct the pontoon bridges. But we had no tanks to speak of, you know. We were only provided with a U.S. rifle, caliber 30, model 1917. Remember, that was 1941. But we were training on with a rifle, you know, model 1917. So we were not really, you know, we were not prepared, you know, for war that happened in 1942. Because, you know, of course, we were already told also that we will eventually be supplied with Garand rifle, but it never came. We never had, for instance, I had no occasion to use a steel helmet during the 1942 war. We had no, we were using, you know, a straw hat, you know, to fight the Japanese, you know. That's why, you know, we were not prepared, you know. We were not prepared to fight the Japanese, the veterans of the China War, you know, veterans of Shanghai War, you know, and the veterans, you know, who destroyed captured the British forces in Singapore, you know. We were not supplied with them. So we were, in short, we were ill-equipped to fight the Japanese in 1941.
And so once you had your 5.5 months training, did you have any more training after that?
I had no training. Of course, there were some graduates of the training who were given advanced training later on, somewhere under the supervision of the Americans, but those were a few. Now, as a matter of fact, you know, if you are a graduate of the 5.5 months training, and you are admitted to the School of Reserve Commission, then you become a third lieutenant. You see?
And you were an ROTC while you were in college.
Yeah, I was.
Tell me, how did that work? How did the reserve officer training program work?
Okay. If you've undergone the 5.5 months basic training, and you are admitted to the ROTC, you resume, you know, you're given additional schooling, you know, to manipulate the machine gun, you know, and you know, this is one of the requirements when you go to the ROTC. You have to go to you can be entrusted with a machine gun, you know. But in my case, for instance, when I entered the College of Law, I had finished 5.5 months training. So when I took the ROTC, you know, we had to start all over again, you know, the drilling and all that, you know. And of course, you know, we are better equipped because, you know, the armory, you know, the Farson University Armory is provided with firearms by the U.S. military in Manila. See, we are better equipped and better furnished with uniform because you have to buy your uniform. So that's how it operated, you know.
Now, your brother was in law school. Was he also in ROTC?
No, because when he entered into college, the National Defense Act was not yet enacted. So private schools were not required to run an ROTC unit. The only ROTC unit established, you know, are for public schools. University of Manila, for instance, you know, University of the Philippines had an ROTC unit, you know, advanced, you know, so much so that students of the University of the Philippines who graduate from the ROTC are qualified for commission in the reserve force. Most of them come out as third lieutenant. You know, before the war, there were ranks of third lieutenant, you know. It was only lately that the rank that was abolished and replaced by second lieutenant. But most of these reserves who graduated from University of the Philippines, you know, come out as officers after undergoing, no, they undergo 4 years, 4 years ROTC, you see?
Yes, that's what Violin did
Yeah,
in ROTC. This is 1940 and now 1941.
yeah,
As a law student, and you were concerned with constitutional issues, and you could see Japan expanding into Manchukuo and Manchuria and China, and then to French Indochina.
mhm.
What was the conversation among your fellow students in school and newspapers? What was the reaction of the students at that point? Because you know it's pretty far removed, but still
Yeah.
pretty close.
Yeah. When I was in college, you know, before I was in college, you know, after finishing my basic 5.5 months training and taking the ROTC, we already knew that war clouds were gathering in the Pacific, you know. As a matter of fact, in 1941, the Sino-Japanese war was going on, you know. And we already knew that the Americans were fortifying Corridor and Bataan, you know. There were some constructions there, you know. It cannot be hidden from us because, you know, they blast some of these mountains, you know. So as early as 1940, you know, in June of 1940, we already anticipated war was going on, you know.
Tell me about the American forces. I mentioned the Navy. Tell me about what your experience was and what you saw of U.S. military in the Philippines.
Okay. There is a place in the Philippines, the so-called Sunken Garden, you know. It's near the Walled City, you know. You had barracks there already of the infantry units. Americans, you know, they were already drilling there, you know. They have barracks there, you know. And the Manila Bay, you have all destroyers already. At night you'll see they have floodlights, you know. Manila Bay was a naval base, you know. Remember, you know. That's why there were in the afternoon you will see American sailors, you know. The sailors, you know, come down from the boat, and they frequent, you know, Santa Ana Cabaret. They frequent the Gaspi Garde, you know. See, that's why we knew that war was inevitable, you know.
And so when you were in law school and you were Monday morning
Mm-hmm.
in Manila was Sunday morning in Pearl Harbor,
Yeah.
and you were in school Monday morning. Is that what you were?
No, no. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, and Manila was also bombed, you know. I was still home in that early morning, and because in front of us is the office that I used to work, TBT Publications, just across the street. It's the TBT Publication, and they were blaring, you know, already the headlines, you know, that Manila is bombed, and then Pearl Harbor was bombed, you know, and war, you know, was inevitable. So I was not in the office at the time. I was in the house at the time. Yeah, and then at the time I prepared, you know, to bring home to my sister. I had a sister with us in Manila, you know. We decided to go home, you know, that early morning, you know, to bring him to the province, you know.
And what actually happened Now, the next day, December the 9th, you already bombed, did you see anything? What was going on?
Well, you just see the bombing in Manila Bay Area, and Clark Field is not very far from Manila, so you can hear, and then Camp Murphy is just only about 10 miles from the center of Manila. So when these places were alerted and bombed, we knew.
And how did the people react? What was going
Oh,
on?
there was panic, I would say that there was panic. The buses were loaded, the trains were loaded, You can hardly get into the buses, So we had to take a train coming from Manila to Tayabas,
And so everybody was trying to get out of town?
Yeah, everybody.
And panic, was food going out of markets?
Yeah,
Things like that?
that's correct,
Were there a lot of people on the streets?
Yeah.
What was the response of people?
That was really what was happening, People are on the streets, college students, particularly the women, were panicking, everybody wanted to go home, to the province, because we felt that the province is relatively safer for all of them,
And did you got on the train, you and your brother and sister?
When I took the train in the early, in about late in the afternoon, I had only my sister. I have only one sister there. Yeah, I have a sister. Yeah, I had two sisters there. And going to my place, have to pass Lucena, and I have another two brothers, in Lucena. So going home, we took them to go to home, to our hometown,
So that was about a 400-mile.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to get home?
I recall that from Manila up to Lucena would be about 3 hours, and about 2 hours more from Lucena to the nearest town. I recall that there were no more transportation available from the city of Lucena to my town. So we have to take a sailboat already. We had to take a sailboat.
And so you took a sailboat, and was it the next day then? Right?
Yeah, the sailboat, you have to depend on the wind,
And so you rented a sailboat to get home?
Yeah.
Somebody else ran a sailboat, you were just...
Yeah.
And so when you got home, what was the news going on? What was happening?
Oh, when I got home, I know that the people had been alerted, Some, as a matter of fact, I have a brother, who dug, just along the side of the house, a bomb shelter, We were told to construct bomb shelter, hoping that the bomb shelter can save you from machine gun fire or bomb, but it was, we found out that it was useless, But anyway, people tried to improvise, see what can be done, to protect ourselves from possible.
Now, the actual invasion didn't come until later.
Yeah, later,
And how was your reaction the first time? What happened? Were you called up? Were you notified that you were in reserves? What happened at that point?
It was a general mobilization, The the normal at the time, the normal notice for your call to active duty is related to the chief of police. Now, the chief of police of the municipality has a list of reservists, because after going to the cadet training, the chief of police furnished a list of the reservists in your municipality. So when I arrived, my town, the chief of police already circulated, the copy of the general order, calling all reservists to active duty. See?
So that was, how long did that happen before you got that notice?
Oh, I think, the war, December 8, I came home, December 9 or 10, And when I arrived my town on December 9, sometime or December 10, my father was already notified that we have orders, to report to the nearest military camp. And the military camp was Lucena. So we had to come back, Arriving the town, we have to come back to Lucena to.
Was it the same day you went back?
No, because there are no available transportation, You have to wait for another sailboat, to see. Transportation is no longer available, land transportation at the time. So we have to, I remember, I reported to active duty, in Lucena on December 16 already, So it already week, already 1 week already passed, And when we went to Lucena, we were about 15 from my small town, From my small town, we were about 15 or 20 who had to report to active duty in Lucena.
And so now, what happened? Now, you reported, you sat there, salute, I'm here, now what happened?
Yeah, okay. We reported to Lucena, I arrived Lucena about December 13 or 14. I report to the nearest camp on December 16. There is a camp in Lucena, it's called Camp Wilhelm, it's named after an American. Camp Wilhelm, we reported to that camp, And right then and there, we took the oath of allegiance to the American flag.
Now, the oath of allegiance, now, you were all members of the Commonwealth.
Yeah, Commonwealth,
Territory of the United States. Everybody was U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
So when you're sworn in, it's a normal oath of allegiance to the American flag.
Yeah, American flag.
So, could you mention what that meant? Now, as Filipinos,
Mm-hmm.
with the American flag, what did that mean to you when you? It's different now.
Yeah.
It's war, it's real now.
Yeah. When I was in Camp Wilhelm, there were American officers. Now, alternately, we were taken out of allegiance to an American officer or Philippine officer, with an American flag. The President of American flag. Now, remember that, we were a Commonwealth, and under the Constitution of the Commonwealth, you cannot serve in the Commonwealth, even as a public official, unless you take an oath of allegiance to the American flag. See? To the American flag. And at the time, the American flag was always flown above the Philippine flag. You see? That's why it was a requirement for a public official before he acts, before a public official, performs his public office. For instance, a municipal president, you take an oath of allegiance to the American flag. Now, in the case of this Commonwealth Philippine Army, we were required to serve under the United States Army Force in the Far East. We were required to take an oath of allegiance to the American flag.
Now, what happened? Now you've taken your oath of allegiance. You're sworn in on the 16th.
Yeah.
And what happened now? Between now you're way out in Bataan and Mount Quezon province. You have to take Lucena.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And most of the actions take place. Now, what happened? What happened to your unit? Did you activate it there? Did you serve there?
Okay.
What happened?
You know, when we were sworn in, for instance, in Camp Wilhelm, Lucena, you know, we are sworn, no, not in mass, you know, as they report. For instance, 50 men report for duty. They are immediately sworn in, you know. Now, after they are sworn in, we were, in my case, for instance, I was sent to Manila. In Manila, it was in Manila, in Camp Murphy, you know, that we were given our supplies and equipment. We were given 2 short pants, you know, we were issued the U.S. rifle, you know, and then we were grouped, you know. Now, unfortunately, on December 23rd of 1941, Camp Murphy was straight by Japanese plane, you know. Oh, the death was terrible, you know. That was the time that I realized that we were not prepared for that war, because we were hardly able to form an organization when we were straight, so that the following night we were required to move out from the camp. And in my case, I boarded a commandered civilian bus. Then I found myself in Bataan already on December 23rd. See? I never knew that where we were going to be brought, you know, but I came to know later that under the open orange of General Douglas MacArthur, we were going to be concentrated in Bataan Peninsula. And that is where we were organized. That's where I was assigned to the 1st Division, 31st Division, 31st Division, 31st Division of under General Clifford Blumel, Blumell, Clifford Blumel.
31st Division was an infantry division.
31st Division.
It was an infantry division.
Yeah, 31st Infantry Division,
And
Philippine Army, you know.
So, John Blumel was at that point. So now you were already moved into, because Manila was already declared an open
Yeah,
city.
yeah. Manila, after my, on December, I remember that it was on December 25th, Christmas, that Manila was declared an open city. So all the troops in Manila and suburbs were moved out, you know.
What does an open city mean?
Well, an open city, in my concept of an open city at the time was if a city was declared an open city, all military forces should get out, and it cannot be bombed or strafed, you know. In other words, it's no longer a theater of war, you know. If a city is declared an open city, it cannot be the subject of military operation. So much so that the country that declares it's an open city, it's recognized by the opponent, you know. You are obligated to move out. That's what MacArthur did. When the Manila was declared an open city on the 25th, it was shorn of military forces and equipment.
You were in now 23, a couple of days here, there you see you're like 22 years old.
Yeah, that was 1941, I was 22 years old.
And you were, at that point, now in Bataan.
Yeah,
Had you ever been to Bataan?
never. This was the first, time that,
What was your experience now? Upon first time, you just barely got what kind of a rifle did you have?
pardon?
What kind of rifle were you?
Oh, I was, the rifle that was issued to me in Murphy, in Camp Murphy at the time, was the same rifle that that I had taken to Bataan. A used rifle, caliber 30, 1917, bolt action.
One shot at a time?
Yeah, one shot at a time. It is caliber 30, and it recoils, boy. It's not for our size.
Only till the phone rings. Yeah, a 30 caliber has a lot of kick,
Yeah.
and especially bolt action built at that time. So we'll wait till the phone's answer. But no, we'll continue now. So you had a single shot, bolt action, 30 caliber rifle, issued for World War I.
Pardon?
Issued for World War I.
Yeah, for World War I, yeah.
Yeah.
1917.
So that, so the gun was older than you were.
Hmm. The gun was, when the rifle was hit to us, came from a box, with all the grease, You had to remove it will take you one day to remove the grease, It is stored, It has been stored for so long, And because of the war, they had to issue that to us,
It's still in the Cosmo lane.
Yeah.
Now, when you had issued now, what's happened on 25th now? Troops are already starting to withdraw out of the city.
Yeah.
Manila's been given up, and you're withdrawn. And now, you were just there yourself. Now, how far was it from Murphy to Bataan? How did you get there?
From Camp Murphy, from Manila to the camp, it's about only about from Manila to the camp, it's about 4 to 5 kilometers only. Yeah, from Manila, Because now, yeah, that's right, 4 to 5 kilometers,
And then they accommodated a bus to move you to Bataan.
Yeah, we on that night, the night of the 24th, we moved out from Camp Murphy. We were in Camp Murphy already. we moved from Camp Murphy. We gassed up, in that University of Santo Tomas gas station. Then finally moved to Bataan.
And how many people were in the bus? And
Oh.
what were you people talking about?
The-
Wait for the phone. This is from the answer. How many people were up?
That's taped anyway.
So we're trying to make some of that stories.
What veterans may country is the most to experience from the dead marks, prisoner of war,
Yes, well, I think it's important. We're on continuing interview with Brigadier General Tagumpay Nanadiego at his home on July the 3rd, 2002. It's now 10 minutes to 5, page 2. Joe, we were just talking about what it was like to be a reservist in the militia, trained for 5.5 months, and then called up in the war. And now you've been moved Christmas Eve by bus to Bataan. Tell me, what was your first experience? What was it like? Everybody there were conscripted, were drafted. Tell me what it was like to be mobilized. What was going on? Was confusion? Everybody knew exactly what to do. Nobody knew what was happening.
Well, when we were moving to Bataan, coming from Manila and Camp Murphy, we never knew that we were going to Bataan. We didn't know because the roads were plugged. We had the roads were dark. Because we had to make sure that only a small portion of the headlight, could light the road. We had to make sure that because we at that time Japanese planes were bombing, strafing the roads. So when we move at night, we make sure that we cannot be seen from above. Now, as I said, we never knew where we were going. We only heard, that we were moving to the mountain, because we were not safe already in Camp Murphy and in Manila. Now, we had with us, we were armed with the U.S. rifle caliber 30, 1917 vintage, and I was, to tell you frankly, I was disappointed, because I was expecting that we would be given Garand rifle, So when I saw the 1917 bolt action rifle, I was really very, very disappointed, and I knew that we were not prepared for the war. Now, when we stopped, we were climbing the mountains all along, but when we were in the thick of the jungle, Bataan was a jungle. I tell you, the trees are so big, you cannot be seen from above. We stopped, and then we were required to unload, We were with the blanket that we had to prepare to go to bed, So we, between the roots, the trees are so big, and the roots can give you protection. The big roots, we could be protected. So we, in my case, I had lie between the roots, and slept, Now, in the middle, I think early in the morning, we were awakened by soldiers, There were Filipinos and Americans, and we were told that we are stragglers, We are stragglers, and we were told that we should join the group, That was already the 31st Division. We were going to join the group, and henceforth, we were told that our commanding officer, so-and-so, officers we never saw. We were inducted into in Lucena, or even when we were in Camp Murphy. We were. I tell you, the only man I know who joined the unit was a friend, a relative of mine, the name of Kwasay, and really we were confused, We never knew where are we, to what unit do we belong, until finally this commanding officer, the first lieutenant Galang, told us that henceforth you will be with the 31st Motor Transport Company of the 31st Division under General Lowell. See? Now, I tell you, it was really confusing to us, How come, How come that we are now with the 31st Motor Transport Company in the 31st Division, when our companions, when we left Camp Murphy in Manila, were mostly from Tayabas province, Now here we come to stay with the people from a different region of the Philippines, you know. See, so that's how I felt. I was disappointed. I never knew what would be the next move, you know. And even the next meal, you know, we never knew it would come. Where would it come, you know? Until finally we were told that we were going to be given bread for breakfast, you know, and coffee, you know. And that henceforth we belong to the 31st Division of under General Blumel.
That was like Christmas Eve, Christmas Day.
Yeah, that was Christmas Day. You know, fortunately, you know, the day before I left Manila, that was Christmas Eve. We were able to buy apple pies in that Plaza Lands in Manila, you know, and I brought with me three apple pies, you know. That's why, you know, we had apple pie for breakfast on that Christmas Day, and I even brought a newspaper, you know, from Manila, you know. It was Tariba and La Vanguardia, you know, and I was trying to read. Incidentally, I was reading the Spanish newspaper, you know, and that amazed my commanding officer. And he told me, you know Spanish? Sabi ko, sir, I'm reader of the La Vanguardia, so because I worked with the La Vanguardia before coming here, you know. That's why, you know, that impressed my commanding officer, you know. He said, I know Spanish, you know, and I know English, so I qualified, you know, to become the company clerk. You know, I was designated the company clerk right away because, incidentally, the company clerk that was assigned to him was a high school graduate. He was not a typist. He was only a high school graduate. The name is Teodoro Panlaki, I remember now, you know. And I replaced him, you know, as company clerk, you know, and dispatcher at the motor pool. So right away, I was given a key position, you know, in the unit, although I was only a private, you know.
So the dispatcher in the motor pool.
Yeah.
Company clerk. And that was the first day.
Yeah, that was the first day, you know.
And that's because he saw you reading Spanish.
Yeah, I was reading Spanish, and he knew that there was only one typewriter, you know.
You know the time.
I know how to type, you know.
So what was going on? As a company clerk, you began to know what was going on.
Yeah.
Tell me what you learned as a motor pool dispatcher.
Yeah, you know.
You know, equipment was coming in. Equipment
Yeah,
coming out.
you know, I has a motto as a company clerk and dispatcher. I had to coordinate with our first sergeant, you know, and I had to coordinate also with our supply sergeant. See, so those are the things that I've been told. You know, you make sure that the food is. We have designated supply point. You know, make sure that the food that we get from the quartermaster is brought to a certain unit, you know, all that, you know. And so my first job was company clerk and top dispatcher, you know, of the 31st Motor Transport Company.
And so how did you begin to find out what's going on? Tell me what was, now was this right after Christmas Day? And your first job, you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And I started to tell you what to do. Started to figure it out. And a lot of confusion. Tell me about how the confusion, what did you see going on? What did you feel?
You know, this was really something, you know, I could not fathom, you know. I cannot really, you know, how come, you know? And what disturbed me is that, you know, we have no, except for the trees, we had no protection from the air, you know. We had no, I knew that we had no planes anymore, you know. We have no protection from the air except for the trees that's overhead, you know. And, you know, Bataan Peninsula is not a very big area, you know. And, you know, you get some small arm fire, you know. So if you hear a small arm fire, it means sure that the enemy is near, you know. And then you have the artillery pieces, you know, coming from, you know, nowhere, I don't know where, you know. So I tell you, it's really confusing, you know. And we can hardly cook our food. We could hardly cook our food because the smoke, you know, will indicate where we were. See?
So you had a food preparation unit as part of your group.
Yeah, yeah.
So they prepared your meals.
Yeah.
What was food like at that time?
Oh. For breakfast, you know, we were originally, for the first 2 days, for breakfast, we were given bread, you know, that looks like a steel helmet, you know, too tough, you know, and to distribute the bread to us, it was only thrown to they were too tough, you know. we no formality of if you have 5 men and they give you one steel helmet, they call it with steel helmet, very tough, you know. And that was the breakfast that we have, you know. We had coffee, you know, to go with the bread, you know. Now later on, there were no more bread available, so we have to our KP, kitchen police, you know, cook the rice already. They boil the rice, you know, and rice with sometimes with corned beef, you know, sometimes with sardines, you know. They alternate, you know, corned beef, sardine, you know. And originally, for the first week, you know, we had breakfast, we have lunch, and we have supper, you know, dinner, you know. But later on, you had to carry one at 10 o'clock in the morning and one 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
How long did that happen?
Oh, I think January, the middle of January, we have half ration already.
2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah. Then up to the end of the war, you know.
What kind of rations now? Talking about not much to begin with. And you had it at that point. What would you know, were the plates overflowing with rice and corned beef, or overflowing with rice and sardines, or was it a handful?
Oh, yeah.
Tablespoon, how much was it?
Well, it's only a very small amount, you know. It's not that's only enough to give taste to the rice that you're eating. And later on, it was not rice anymore. It was porridge, you know, with plenty of water, you know, and you have to mix the corned beef with the rice already, you know. It was a packaged deal already. You get a bowl of rice or a meat can of rice, boiled rice. You have the corned beef already there, you know.
How much was it? 1 bowl for the day, or 1 bowl a meal?
No, for a meal. You know, when the half meal was instituted, we have breakfast about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You see?
Train goes by, and then
Yeah.
we'll finish up. Well, one family also was, because when I spoke to Guerilla, I think he was in a quartermaster group.
Oh,
Guerilla,
Billerino,
yes, he was in a supply group also.
Uh-huh.
and talk about the same trees and those kinds of things. And calorie because he was, bringing food just as you guys were transporting. But what I wanted to ask you about was full rations for the steel helmet.
Yeah.
Half rations with half a steel helmet or not?
Mid-can, tell him, mid-can. We used to be, in the, up to the end of, up to the our surrender, we still had mid-can. We have mid-can and we have spoon and fork, Now, I had no occasion to use the steel helmet for, in the first place, we were not issued steel helmet. So we had to use the mid-can and canting cap.
How big a can was it?
Oh, the mid-can is that big, I don't know that is it being issued to the GI at this time? No more. Yeah, that's big,
And how many people was it?
You are served. I tell you, when we went to half ration, you line up, and then the KP, the kitchen police, pour the rice with plenty, porridge, on your meat can, just to fill it up, But in there, you have already the small amount of corned beef, corned beef. That's all you have, That meat kind of rice porridge, and that sometimes alternate, sometimes sardines, sometimes corned beef. But later on, I was amazed. When we were about to surrender, they were already serving us abalone. One can of abalone, that can of abalone contained one piece, Then, you cut, divide that among the... And, I saw abalone only about 2 or 3 days before surrender, We had to rely on sardines and corned beef most of the time, and carabao meat also. And later on, when the Philippine Scouts, the cavalry was disbanded, we were eating the mule, one leg of mule for our company, Yeah, one leg of mule for the company, That's what we had.
Now you were at the same place in Bataan until you surrendered?
No, we moved. There was a time, and that was we were very happy, We were directed to advance. See? So we were happy that we were advancing, We thought that, I tell you, there are not enough radio stations in Bataan. Only a handful of, where our company has one, And we receive messages all along, Every now and then, we receive, messages that there is a 1 mile, convoy, going to coming from Australia to the Bataan, So we were directed to advance, We thought that was a signal, see. But unfortunately, after we advanced, we had to retreat because, the troops of General Homa arrived already, and these were the veteran troops, So after that advance, they were retreated, until finally, in December 8, April 8, 1942, we were told that we had to go to the rear and take a position in Lamao. Lamao was a river, where most of the what the Mexicans were stationed.
You have children in Mexico, the National Guard had children
Yeah, as early, and I found it out later now, because when I was in Washington, D.C., I was invited in El Paso and in Albuquerque. And in the course of our talks, I found out that they were the troops that were near us, in that area, because they were Spanish speaking. And they were the troops that came to the Philippines in September of 1941. Okay.
and most of them tankers and artillery.
Yeah, coast artillery,
And so they were right next to you?
Yeah, right next to us, because when we when there is a lull, we normally take a bath in the Lamau River, and they also take a bath in that area. So we met these Spanish-speaking soldiers, and I came to know later, when I went to El Paso and Albuquerque, that they were there. See, that's why I have pictures when I was awarding the medals. Yeah.
I'd like to see those.
Yeah, I have it, Yeah.
Well, before the time will be making a speech at the American Forum in Albuquerque.
Oh, I see. I have plenty of materials about Albuquerque,
Let me have those photos.
Yeah.
That'd be excellent. Because we're talking about this program.
Yeah.
Now, when you were retreating at that time, it's been since December,
Yeah.
and people were getting sick. Who were they getting sick from?
Oh, first you get malaria. Then, because of lack of food, you get beriberi, Then, later on, you get dysentery. That's why most soldiers in Bataan were either suffering from malaria and dysentery. And finally, because of malnutrition, and very, very, so much so that the strength of the fighting strength of the Filipino Americans were reduced considerably to even one half, I think, our fighting strength, There was a time, my company commander was required to contribute about 10 or 15 men from our unit to form the provisional battalion of the 31st Division. Provisional battalion. These are people who are relatively strong. You see? And I was one of them. I was really, I managed to, I am very, creative, in food, for instance, I manufacture, I try to improvise, I cook carabao meat, I do carabao meat, and I mix that with some leaves, and I managed to eat,
I mean, it's stress.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people got sick and weak because they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And
But even if you improvise, I tell you, you really, really, when you are hungry, and nothing to eat, you really become very weak, It's, aside from the fact that you are depressed, depression, and hunger, when they go together, they
depression was really occurring because you didn't have any. You knew you were.
yeah.
When did you know that it was a question of time and it was over?
Okay. I really realized that the war was for us over on the evening of April 8. You know, on the evening of April 8, soldiers coming from the first line of resistance, second line of resistance, were crossing our unit already, you know. And I met some friends, and he told me, look, you start moving to the rear, you know. You move to, you retreat already because our lines are broken, you know. And you know, when, in Bataan, you know, when the lines are threatened, you know, the company commander, you know, the unit commander normally calls this the Philippine Scouts. These Philippine Scouts, you know, are composed of Filipinos who are in the federal government, you know. They were trained long before the war. I had the first cousin who was a member of this, the Philippine Scouts. And he was trained to fight. And any time that our division commander needs to restore the line, you know, which was broken, they call up on these Philippine Scouts. You know. And I'm not a member of the Philippine Scouts, but I am an honorary member of the Philippine Scouts. When the Philippine Scouts was the reunion in Fort Mason 3 years ago, I was a member of, I was given this, you know. That's why.
So the Philippine Scouts, you consider them the best?
Oh, it was, I would say that the Philippine Scout was omnipresent. They are present, you know, when there is a breakthrough. They are present, they are called upon when there is a threat on the line, you know, in the front, you know. That's why they were omnipresent everywhere, you know, the Philippine Scout. And in the Philippine Scout is a cavalry, you know. This Ramsey was a member of that, you know. And they was very reliable. And Americans who served on Bataan will tell you that the Philippine Scouts was really the best units.
So on April 8th,
Yeah.
when you started retreating,
When we start to retreat, you know, on April 8 and 9, you know, it was in the evening of April 8 when we received because, you know, although there were troops retreating, you know, we have no instructions to retreat, you know. We are waiting for orders from General Blumer's headquarters. But on the about 7 o'clock on April 8, we were told to move, to retreat, and we were told to go to Lamao, you know, where the Mexicans were, you know, and which we did, you know. We were boarding our available commander buses, you know.
Hello there.
We'll stop for a second.
Yeah.
We're continuing on take 2 about 5:23 on July 2nd, 3rd, July 3rd. Conrad, General, we were talking about the baton and just at the point where food deprivation and health just before the surrender. I understand there was a major artillery barrage that was so strong for the whole day. You know, tell me about how it feels to be under a barrage like that. Because you were a civilian now. You're not a professional military guy, and you've been in the Army now 3, 4, 5 months after duty. Tell me what it was like at that point, and what you felt like physically, what your food was like, and then what happened.
You know, the last 2 weeks, you know, before Bataan fell, you know, day and night, you know, we get artillery fire, you know, and we know our unit could not provide food anymore for the men, you know. They cannot cook, you know. So we had to make use of whatever canned good that we had, you know. And at night, of course, they can build fire, you know, at night and cook. But before you can, while eating, you know, you get the artillery fire, you know. You know, the Japanese artillery has a queer sound, you know. When it is fired, you know, there is a lapse of time before it hits. So, something like this, pang, 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 jag, jag, jag. When it is jag, 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 we knew that it's hitting. That's why after the pang, 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 it's already going to our foxholes, you know. And continuously, night and day, you know. And some of our men get shell shock, you know, and that's terrible, you know. If you get shell shock, you know, every now and then you feel, you know, you're shouting, you are desperate, you know. And of course, I did not. As a young man, you know, I did not suffer from that, you know. You know, I believe, you know, I still believe that, you know, if anything could happen to us, you know, it could happen, you know. So I was prepared for the worst. That's why when we were ordered that night to move to the rear, you know, it was a little relaxation to me, you know. It was, I feel better, you know. We were trying to move to the rear, you know. But unfortunately, when we reached Lamau, we saw the small piece of firearms, you know, on the bank of the river, you know. So I thought, I really believed that we were going to make a last stand there, you know. But the planes were flying low already, you know. We were being hit left and right, you know. The only safe place to be was in Paxol, you know. We never ventured outside anymore, you know. So you will realize how difficult it was, you know. Not to move out from the foxhole, you know, with no food, you know. And we were waiting, you know, just waiting for somebody to hit us, you know, and all that, you know. But at about 12 o'clock noon, we received instruction to raise, to surrender, you know. We were told that we were going to surrender, you know. But so that was a relief, you know. We were told that we were going to surrender. So we were preparing to surrender, you know. We had to remove our firearms, you know. We had to, whatever, if we had grenades, you know, we had to throw them out already, you know. And when, but what disheartened me was that the Japanese were still firing at us, you know. So much so, I had a friend, you know, who was one of my companions coming from up the hills, you know. A certain person with the name of PFC De Leon, you know. He was hit in the foxhole, you know, and he died right then and there, you know. So while the order to retire was a relief, you know, at the same time we were also, you know, fearful because Japanese continued to fire at us, you know. Then all of a sudden, you know, there was a convoy of Japanese buses, you know, filled with the Japanese, you know, and we were told that we had to surrender, you know. It was there when I was I met a command a ranking general, Philippine general, General Vicente Calimbin, Vicente Lim, who was a graduate of West Point. He was senior on the, also to Eisenhower. I met him there, and when I saw him there, I also thought that it was General Lim, because he's a Philippine Army officer, who is going to surrender us to the Japanese. But it didn't happen. We have to wait for an order from General Lee King, who was in Lamau, to surrender in the representing the armed forces, or the full armed forces in Bataan, to surrender. It was General King who surrendered us. And that is significant in my argument, for the repeal of the Rescission Act. Because most congressmen said that we were not a part of the armed forces of the nation, should not be deemed as a member of the armed forces of the nation. That is an argument, because if we were not a part, why was it that it was General King who had to surrender us to the Japanese forces?
That was late afternoon, April the 8th.
Yeah. No. In the evening when we surrendered, when we instructed to go to the rear, it was April 9 of 19, in the afternoon already. We were actually surrendered to the Japanese forces under General Homa.
Now, how did you and your unit actually surrender to the Japanese? What happened at that time? You actually saw
Yeah. Okay. We were the Filipino troops and all Americans, we were gathered, under, I think this was a bamboo grooves, because it was a shade, We were gathered there, and, you see the faces, they grin, they were sad, and we had to, whatever white handkerchief that we had, you had to put it out, We had to throw away, or we were told to gather our firearms, ammunition, That's what we did, But when the Japanese came, we were also told to surrender our canteen, our meat can, spoon and everything, That's how we were gathered, The Japanese troops were surrounding us, and then we were gathered around General Lin, who was the most ranking Philippine Army officer there,
What did you see? What did you actually witness? What did you feel?
Well, having having been on those horrors, being fired at and all that, I was relieved, I tell you, I was relieved when I was told that we were going to surrender, because we were assured that we were going to be brought to Manila. So much so that there were buses, commandeered civilian buses that were ready. And we were actually told to board the buses. It was about, maybe about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All the available buses were filled up with soldiers, And we were seated already, So I felt relieved, Instead of being exposed to the weather, and to gunfire, We were seated in the buses, lined up, Oh, it was a long line of buses, We boarded. But an hour later, here comes another group of Japanese telling us to unload. So we had to, and we were made to line up. That's the time when we realized that, we were going to walk. And it was April, April in the Philippines is very hot, humid. You see? And then we were denied of our canteen, you know, our meat can and all that, you know. Then about 4 o'clock, we were made to the soldiers, the Japanese soldiers were lined up on both sides of the street, and we were made to walk. That is the start of the walking, you know.
And that was in Lanao.
Starting from kilometer post 182 in Mariveles.
In Manila.
Yeah, it was road already, you know. It was it was cement road, asphalt road, and the gravel road, you know, alternating, you know.
Well, what was it like? You know, it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so.
It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We started marching, you know.
Daylight till 9.
Oh, daylight, you know. And continued until dark. Until dark.
And then they said, what was happening? What was the first inkling what was happening? That it was not going to be a mile or maybe more buses. When did you begin to feel like there was...
You know, in Manila, in the Philippines, you count the kilometers from Manila. So if it is kilometer post 182, then you are 182 kilometers from Manila. Okay. Now, if we are going to Manila, it will be 182, 181, 170, but there was a time that it was going up again. You see? So I realized that we were not going to Manila. We were going elsewhere, you know. And actually, we were made to move to Pampanga, and finally to Kapasala. We were moving out farther from Manila. At kilometer post 182, we were walking up to, you know, at 182, 181, you know. So we were going to Manila. But it went up again, so we knew that we were not going to Manila.
Tell me the health condition of all those people.
Oh,
And
God.
all the people were there. What were they? What kind of condition were those guys in?
Remember that January, February, March, April, 4 months, we were fighting the Japanese. We are short of firearms. I don't think we ran short of ammunition. We still had ammunition, you know. Even after immediately before the surrender, we still have ammunition. But then we were sick. Most of us sick, you know. You can imagine that. You can imagine people walking, you know, then removing your bowels alone, you know.
Tell me what dysentery does to you.
Oh.
People know what diarrhea is.
Yeah.
But they don't, tell me what the difference is.
Oh. In the case of dysentery, you defecate about 20 to 30 times a day. It's not, it's really, dysentery is an epidemic, you know. It's a disease. A diarrhea is only sometimes, you know, something wrong with your system, you know. You eat some food, you know, then you have, you know, you have your bowel movement is, you know, watery, you know. But dysentery is caused by amoebic. Ito really, it's caused by germs. You see. That's why if you have dysentery, your friends can get the disease right away, you know. Diarrhea, no. If you have if somebody has diarrhea in the house, you do not contaminate all others, you know. But the dysentery is terrible, you know. And most of us have been suffering from amoebic dysentery. You see? And if you remove your bowels 20 to 30 times a day, you get very sick. You are dehydrated. See? And when you are dehydrated and you don't drink water, it is really death, you know.
Gave you no water. There was water that didn't give you.
along the way, it was April. Some of the, we normally, we can drink if there are irrigation ditches, rice cannot thrive without irrigation ditches. So that area, that from Bataan to San Fernando to Tarlac, these are rice lands. So rice land and sugarcane, you see, alternate. Now, along the road, you have some irrigation ditches where you can drink, But I tell you, when you drink from irrigation ditches, how contaminated it is, You see, dirty, And we use our hands to get water, There are times when there are springs, good springs. Oh, that's a day of celebration, Sometimes along the way, Because the Japanese capriciously require us to go uphill, When you walk the road, that is plain, But the Japanese sometimes tell you, well, this is a hill, Walk that hill, And from the hill, you can see, the long line of caravan of troops. From a distance, if you on a hill like that, and you can see the movement of the troops, it looks like a rope, See, like that, You see how it looks like. 70,000 people walking, You can figure out how.
Did they allow you to rest every half an hour?
No.
Give you food and ice water?
The Japanese, when they feel tired, the guards, they feel tired, or they give you rest. Otherwise, you walk until you are exhausted, They do not give food along the way. You look for your food. For instance, there is a sugarcane field, Sometimes we manage at night, especially at night. We grab the roots of the get sugarcane. But the Japanese, if they notice that there is movement in the sugarcane, they fire, They fire at us. So for fear, you do not attempt. And during daytime, there are some civilians who throw food at us, Civilians who feel, if they have time, at night, the Japanese the guards normally is about 10 to 15 feet apart, See, on daytime, the distance is longer, So you have, if there is some kind of a curve, you can hide yourself, you can manage to get sugarcane. And some civilians, they throw food at us, Now, this Japanese, that is a national road, from Maribeles to Capas, that's a national road. And the Japanese use that same road for movement, And at that, there is one another April.
Please stop a second with the glass of water. You mentioned now dysentery affects a person. And you had malaria. And you explained to me once what it was like to have the children be in malaria and have dysentery and not control it. And have jaundice in the middle of the day with no shade, no water, no food. Because people don't understand it.
Yeah, if you are suffering from those ailments, medicine available. No food, no water. In my case, I did not feel dying, I never, all along the way, I have faith that I will live, But there are those, suffering from, if you have not experienced malaria, even when you have malaria, it can come to you once a day or once every 3 days. But it comes to you every day, First, you have high fever. Then you chill. I tell you, your body, perspire, After the chill, then you perspire, What you would want to have is water in the first. But there is no water, So, just, after perspiration, you feel very weak, very weak. And walking the dead march on the hot sun, after the chill, you can hardly, you will be creeping already, It calls for a very strong man, to go through that. Then after that, you remove your bowels, watery already. All those things happen to you at the time that there is no more food, no water, not even water to drink, boy. I cannot now imagine how I was able to live with that one.
What did the guards do? What did the Japanese do?
None. The Japanese normally, if you really are very weak already, they just kill you already. They just kill you. The Japanese that I understand that most of the the soldiers that went to the Philippines were either Korean or pure Japanese, But these soldiers, I tell you, they were really heartless, They were heartless. They were enjoying the side, in April in the Philippines, you have plenty of watermelon. See? You know what these Japanese do, when they are traveling the road, maybe transporting anything, They eat the watermelon, they throw that to us, the soldiers, the captives, They throw the watermelon, the what they call that? The shrine, they throw, and then we scamper, because the watermelon, even the one has plenty of water. We had occasion to, it happened to us several times. But in my case, there was only one occasion, which when I experienced the goodness of a Japanese officer, There was when we were walking, we met an ambulance, We know it's ambulance because they're the Red Cross, My friend, Ramos, looked Japanese, and I can pass for a Japanese also, So the driver stopped, near us, he came up with a flask of ice cold water, It was also, he just got it from some freezer, Gave us a flask of water and some cookies, And then, what? I tell you, that was the only Japanese I know who gave us that, And my friend, Roberto Ramos, did not want to drink He said, maybe this oyster expression. No, never mind. That's water.
Did they give it to you for mistake, or did they give it to you because they felt sorry for it?
They felt, maybe they felt that we were some Japanese ancestry, and they told us. And I tell you, that plastic of the container, I brought it home when I was released. I brought it home. Yeah. And I was telling my father, because when I was released my father met me at the gate of the prison camp, and I did not realize, I did not recognize him for a distance of 9 feet. He did not recognize me, because I had this skin disease, I have no pants, and I was bald-headed, and my stomach was very gone because of beriberi,
Why did you lose your hair?
Hmm?
Why did you lose your hair?
Lack of vitamins, I lost my hair, I was bald, when I came out. As a matter of fact, my father, after my release, told me to have a picture in Manila, and I did not bother to do that, I should have a picture of myself,
But you were descended from Nanadiego.
Yeah, if you have beriberi, you have your stomach, and your flesh, is very, is what do you call it? Inflamed, you see. You can put your hand, your finger there in it. That's not so. If you have beriberi, and if you have beriberi, you have enlarged heart. That's why you tire, And to think of it, you have walked 65 miles that smart, suffering from dysentery, suffering from malaria, suffering from beriberi. And your sight is no good already, How I cannot think of myself, having grown through with that.
What happened if somebody fell to the ground and got tired?
Oh, he's left to die. Sometimes he's left to die, He's maybe shot to death, but most often they are left to die. And you cannot help. You cannot. The Japanese will not allow you to help a dying prisoner. If you do that, you can be shot. You can be shot. No, you cannot. You cannot help a friend, and you cannot afford to help a friend because you are very weak. As a matter of fact, there was one Colonel. I told Commodore Alcaraz. I have a senior officer was paying me 100 pesos just to take care of him, along the way, And I said, sir, I cannot do that. I cannot take care of myself anymore. Sleeping on sleep bambos, You split the bamboo, into 4. I tell you, how will you feel, That's why when we were released from Kapas, we have so many ulcers, around the body. Because you're sleeping on the bare floor. Sleep, it's not clean, it's not plain, And if you have dysentery, we are authorized to just remove the one floor, split bamboo, and we defecate there. I was given only in my case, for instance, because I cannot go to the latrine, because our latrine is composed of, it is one deep ditch, You have bamboos, you put there, you can sometimes, because there is during the rainy season, There's plenty of water. You can fall there. You can die in that place. So I was authorized to defecate in my when I'm sleeping, and I was given only a lime to cover that. Cover that. And so that's why when when I was released from the camp, it was a hill of lime because I removed the walls there.
Nobody had, and this is the,
No water.
Yeah.
okay.
You have no flowing water.
Well, let me start with tape. We're starting with tape 3. With Joe Nanadiego, and it's June 3. Wow, 6 p.m. And we'll just continue with this. Now, Joe, we were talking about the death march, and then later on, with all the disease and people being by the wayside, they were being killed if they stopped. I understand what were the numbers of people who died, who were already walking skeletons before they started the march? What were they like?
Oh.
What was it like? How many died?
A prisoner of war went to came out with the death march, and the prison POW who was later on released. He cannot be recognized anymore. The features, as a matter of fact, I tell you, it was only about 8 feet away when my father meet me at the station, and he did not recognize me. I could recognize him because there's no change in the feature, but in my case, no different. Look, you can imagine me, bald head, I have no skin, I have ulcers all over the body, I have not taken a bath for 4 months. See, my fingernails very long because we have no clipper, nothing, We have no soap to wash our hands. We never change our clothes. All the while, from the from the time I was I surrendered, up the time I was released from the camp, I never had have no change. I think I changed my clothes because somebody died at my side, who had a fairly good set of clothing. And I got it without washing, Imagine that every night, body lice creeping all over your body. All night long. Even in your hair, in your face, very long. The body lice very, very big, You can see with your naked eye. You have that the whole night, And what we do, in the morning, we remove our clothes, and remove the eggs, you see? And it grows the whole night. Now during the day, you have swarms of flies all over. Boy, you cannot do any recording there because of the sound of the flies. Big flies, these are not small flies. With maggots around you. You see? Because the dead in the concentration camp is not removed the day after he dies, maybe 2 or 3 days. We just pile out the vacant space between within the shacks, They're piled up there, and wait for a burial detail. And who is the burial detail? We, prisoners are required to bury their dead. And the next time, maybe you are the fellow who's going to be buried. Think of it. The prisoners of war who have no food, no sanitation facilities, made to bury their dead. It's about about a mile away. They come back, They go there in the morning. They come back at noontime with no food. You see? Then sleep there. That was every day. That's every day. You have to count the dead.
You said it was about 250 a day there.
Oh God. My, I sometimes sometimes I get some nightmares also. The POW camp, the Campo del Camp, is a rice land. So you have frogs, and at the first opportunity, we look for the frogs because we eat the frogs. You see? That's why when I went to the Philippines, I hear the sound of the frogs. Oh, it gives me a creep. Hearing only the frogs, because I'm reminded of the time that when we were there. But of course, when we were there, the sound of the frog is music to us because we have to look for the frog. At night, when the prisoners hear the frogs croaking, they try to look for it because that's food. One leg of that, is good enough to give a flavor to your bowl of rice.
Wasn't very often.
Yeah.
And you were there till September.
I was there from April 14 up to August 29. And August 29 happens to be the birthday of my mother. That's why when my father met me at the station, he wanted my mother to tell her that my birthday to you, my birthday gift to you is Victor, because he's alive.
And you were so ill.
Yeah.
And your father had some recognition.
Yeah.
Is why you got out. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. I was released from the camp in the early morning of August 29 of 1942. We were made to walk, if you're a prisoner, you have a priority for release if you can walk. So I forced myself to walk. I managed to get a small cane, I had no. I think I had the shirt, undershirt, but it's color brown already. The white undershirt that I have the color brown. It has never washed, baby washed. See, it has all the germs conceivable, See? When I was released in the early morning of August 29, 1942, our group was made to walk. I think we were brought a gravel truck, to the Capas railway station. And about 400 yards away from the station, we were unloaded, And the civilians, they were separated from us, and the people who are meeting us were made to stand behind the roof, And when I was walking with our group, my father saw me, you see, about 8 feet away, because they cannot come nearer, And I recognized him. Then I called him, And my father did not recognize me. You see? Good enough. I have a friend behind me to tell my father, because I was very weak, Oh, your son is here, It was only then that my father knew, because my eyes, our eyes do not change. Our body or facial expression maybe, but the eyes, that. So he recognized me, And it was my father who was given first aid because he fell, he collapsed. You see, and the only aid that was given to us is an injection of camphor oil. That was the all that we were. That was camphor oil only to give us, And when my father came through, he recognized, but he cannot come to me because we were suffering from, it was epidemic, malaria, dysentery, and all that, And I have a friend behind me who managed to run to my father because my father had a bag, a buri bag, a small bag, And he knew that it contains food, So he ran to my father, get the bag. Oh yeah, this is son, So I managed to get it, Now, when we were brought to the station, we were made to sit down for a while before boarding a caboose. You know what a caboose? It's the place that you load the cows, and pigs and all that, And when we opened, I found the food, a thermos coffee, and all that, So I started, boy, Gary, that's fish, eating, eating that kind of food that we never had, So I shared my food with my friend, So finally, we were not released because epidemic, So we boarded the caboose, and 50 per caboose. One of them died from Patarlac to Manila because the caboose is no ventilation at all, You see? Right then and there, so the caboose, we arrived in Manila, the station in Manila, it was toilet already because everybody, continued. See? Then finally, from Manila, we were sprayed. Sprayed by, they have a very crude, disinfectant. It was, they call it creolina, We were disinfected, And then, on buses, we were brought to the Pasig Provincial Hospital. It was a provincial hospital, The provincial hospital was newly constructed. So it was painted white and lighted, I tell you, when we were brought there, I told you, I was saying that this must be heaven, because very white, very clean, And right in front of the hospital, we were given, we were sprayed with water, we were scrubbed, scrubbed with soap, and then we were given a new set of, pajamas, Yeah. And that was the first feeling, the first bath that we had, you see? So from there, we were brought to the hospital. We were told that we do not eat, do not buy food from outside, that we eat the ration to us, because the doctor said that you may overeat and you will die, So we were given, I think we were given sweet potatoes, with rice and all that, with little sugar. That was our first feast,
Now, why were you and those people selected to be released?
Yeah.
Just allow the data.
Yeah, okay. We were grouped by provinces. Tayabas, all from Tayabas, Now, the Japanese were releasing us because of that propaganda that the Filipinos were not the enemies of Japanese under the so-called co-prosperity sphere, We belong to that the Japanese sphere, So that is the reason why we were granted parole for all Now, how do they determine who should release? Okay, they determine if Tayabas, there are no, the guerrillas are not very active. You see, then Tayabas, Rizal, okay, Japanese says that, then we will release, So my the reason for my release is because I am from Tayabas. And Tayabas, there had been no active guerrillas, Now, when we were released in our province, the governor guarantees that we are not going to join any guerrilla movement. That is the guarantee. And it's the head, the governor, ran the risk of getting executed if somebody else, would be discovered to have joined the guerrilla movement. But Japan granted independence to the Philippines during the Japanese time, And we had a Filipino who became the peace president. He was branded as a collaborator by the American, but he worked for the Filipinos. And he made sure that as independent country, we enjoy some kind of independence. So in internal politics, it was the president of the Philippines who was trying to decide, And this president, the name is Laurel, he protected, Filipinos from so many abuses of the Japanese. That's why, when I was released, well, I went home, I was able to recuperate. But then, the Japanese abuses continued, and I joined the guerrilla movement. And in the early part of 1944-45, I was attached to the Alamo Scouts of the 6th Army. That's where I was recognized as captain, That is my blessing, I came in as private in the USAFE, and I came out in 1946 as a captain, recognized captain, You see?
The Alamo Scouts.
Yeah, the Alamo Scouts. And I met the fellow who no, I did not meet. I called him by telephone. I was able to call him in Salisbury, in the state of what is it? Salisbury is in. I remember that. But he is from Missouri. Missouri, I called him up when I was in Washington, D.C. because I wanted to recognize the Americans who served in the Philippines by awarding the Liberation Medal. And I called him up. Unfortunately, he was a retired judge already. And he said that I'm no longer connected with the armed forces. So he recommended somebody else, And I went to Missouri. I have pictures of the award ceremony that I made, And I made these people cry,
You survived.
Yeah.
Well, when I was in during our discussion today, because I want to go on to this as we get together next time.
Yeah.
And
I'll prepare some of my films,
good, we can show some
Yeah,
of those,
beautiful,
I'd like to thank you on behalf of the military.
Oh, no, thank you,
Center for Military History today.
Yeah, I'm honored,
Share these things.
I'm honored,
It's an honor to share this.
I'm honored,
We,
Then I arrived my town first day of October, 1942. 1942.
not too long.
Yes. 1942. October 1942. I was in my hometown already, recuperating. But to recuperate,
You were still bed confined.
I was. October 1942.
I All Saints Day, November 1st of 1942. You know, in my house, when I was recuperating, I was between my father and my mother. Anytime we eat, you know, because my father had to tell me to stop eating. You know, you have not experienced this, you know. I never reached the point of satiety in eating from the time I was confined in the hospital in Pasig, you know, Rizal, you know, that was September, August 29, August 13.
Yeah.
If you do not prevent me from eating, I couldn't eat eating.
You couldn't get satisfied?
No more. That is the, you know, in economics, the point of satiety I never reach. Even if you give me a variety of food, you give me a variety of food, you know, one food, you know, you go up, you know, then down. If you give another food, you know, and then I never reach the point of satisfaction. So the doctor Sarenas, I still have my record there, you know. The doctor in the hospital told my father, you better vaccine, you know, eating, of course. In the hospital alone, so many prisoners died of overeating.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So the prisoners died from overeating?
Sure, overeating. You know.
Stretch their stomach to the point
Sure,
where...
overeating. You know. So when we for breakfast from at dinner time, you know, I eat between my father and my mother. You know. They tell me to stop, you know.
They control what you're eating.
And when I move around, you know, my brothers, you know, make sure that I do not go to a except, you know, in the Philippines, you know, every small town like ours, you know, every house where I go, they offered me food. Yeah. Because I was I was the first to come home from the war, you know, and I was treated as a hero. So when I came home, you know, on the sailboat, you know, I rode on the sailboat. Early morning of October 1st, you know, I arrived my town, you know, and at the wharf, you know, they have a small wharf there, you know, I was met with plenty of people, you know, because I was the first to go home. See?
So it was a
All the
very...
rest were still there, you know, in Capas, you know. So, everybody, you know, they were crying, you know, most of them were crying because they saw me, my feature, you know, revealed that I did suffer, you know. So, when I go around the town, you know, everybody meets me there, you know, they offer me food, you know, and that's what my father avoid. Now, unfortunately, November 1st of 1942, that is All Saints Day in the Philippines. And on All Saints Day, plenty of food, you know. And I moved from house to house, you know, my friends, you know, eat, until finally I cannot breathe anymore. I was given morphine to ease the pain, you know, because of overeating. Then I became sick. And from November 1st of 1942, I was able to walk only, to go out of the house in February of 1943. I was on bed the whole time, you know.
And that was because of the overeating?
The overeating. Because so many complications, you know. Overeating, you know, I had some, you know.
You still have malaria and you
Yeah,
still have...
malaria, you know. I tell you, when you have a malaria, you know, and you get tired, you know, and your body gets weak, you know. The chill recurs, you know. So you have, that's why I remember, you know, in October, in February 1943, I was able to walk again, you know. And I was able to recover the whole year, the end of the year. That 1944, I joined the resistance movement. And then
When the 44?
1944, you know, early of 1944, I joined the guerrilla organization, you know. And before the liberation, you know, the advanced forces, intelligence forces, I joined the Alamo Scouts, 6th Army, General Kruger. There was recognized. Yeah. Can I tell you? When eating,
Sure.
yeah, you take that, you know.
Get you, how about you? This young man runs 8 miles every day.
Oh, good.
Well, you'll enjoy having to talk to Dutch Attorney. Because his experience is very close to how he experienced it. He, was it, Sacramento and Papa? Almost the same kinds of experiences. I gave a copy of his book to,
What was the guest speaker that when we went to Scotland?
excuse me?
Guest speaker was guest speaker.
Oh, the other night at
Yeah.
that was, I think, Ted Williams.
He was an instrument, huh?
Mhm.
He wrote already a book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember that, you know, he was reading some of his manuscript, you know.
Oh, I have some more, yes, ma'am. If you're going to, oh, thank you. Tell your grandchildren, the grandchildren know something, but they didn't know everything, do they? So we'll have, hopefully, these tapes that will help. And it will help you too. In 5 years. There you go. I should, if I'd known Conrad, I would have brought his film. I didn't have it with me. I had it at the office. I have, I brought one with me. In the car. Well, see that. Now, when did you?
I got the answer.
You got the answer
I
you
got
wanted?
the answer to my question.
What was the question?
The question is whether he knew my mentor.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know each other because he left September 1942 from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And my mentor was a Jewish rabbi up to 1944.
At Cabanatuan?
Cabanatuan, yeah. He was saying mass there. He was saying, I don't know, not mass, but he said,
Services. He was,
and he was the one in charge of the caravans, you know, because he was a farmer.
Oh, it was very interesting. His book is pretty good.
Yeah.
He
I got
scanned
the
it.
answer immediately.
Right, he found it. Uh-oh. So when I have to get home, I still have to make dinner for my wife.
What is how's it say?
She has multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is
What is that, cancer?
it is a disease of the nerves between the nerves don't communicate with it. It becomes like, you ever seen the hose? Like a water hose that has holes in it?
Oh.
Well, that's kind of like a short circuit. The system attacks itself and develops, the immune system is an autoimmune system that attacks itself. It's like Lou Gehrig's disease, which is one-sided bug. And but it means that for many people, complete paralysis and death. She's had a type that was called recurring remitting, which means that she'd have like she'd lose her hearing, or she'd lose her sight, or she wasn't able to walk, or couldn't use her arms or hands, or whatever. And it would go away. And she'd lose maybe 10% of it. Each time you had it, you'd lose all of it, and then maybe 90% would come back. So each time you have it, it debilitates a little more each time.
How many years have you been in bed?
20, no, she's not in bed. She's able to get around. I have a
She can
little,
walk around the house.
no, she can't walk. No, I have a little motor scooter now. I get her around. She used to be able to walk, but she can't. The last couple of years it's gotten worse. And,
But she can eat anything.
well, she can eat, yeah. But the problem is that when you have almost no activity, your muscles don't work. It takes tremendous energy to just pick up a fork or stand up. Would be if you ran around the block at full strength 100 times.
Oh my God. How
She
many
don't
years
recover.
now that she's sick?
Excuse me?
How many years already that she has been sick?
About 25 years now.
Oh my God, so she was still young at the time.
Oh, it's worse. No, it's gotten progressively worse. The last 5 years it's gotten worse and worse. So this last 2 years is really hard.
Where do you get that kind of sickness?
No one knows. There's no cure.
Oh, really?
So
You are a good husband. You are taking care of her at the same time.
well, it's hard to do all the things you have to do.
How many
So I go home and I'll work till midnight at 2 in the morning. So I can get
How
home
many
with it.
children you had?
4.
4.
Mhm.
All grown up.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And if you are here, who is taking care of her? You have
Excuse me?
who is taking care of your wife?
Oh, I have someone comes in. Her parents moved in with us about 3 years ago.
Her parents with you, and that's good.
You know, my mother is disabled, and so she's in a home because she can't take care of herself. And my dad passed away a couple of years ago. So,
You continue this? Okay, no.
so we do.
Violetta. Violetta. Okay for this?
Yeah.
You like
No, he told me once where, and Color, when you saw his book, I was comparing Lieutenant, because he was a reservist,
Yeah.
and the general, because they were both the same
Yeah,
time.
I bought the service, yeah.
And both reservists, and both in about 4 or 5 months. 6
Both
months.
badly trained.
Yes,
Very badly
on the
trained.
job training.
Oh, yeah.
And we're gonna go down and interview Dr. Kenny on Thursday.
Yeah, how old is she? She's still strong. She's strong, still strong.
He's very vibrant on the telephone, and he's still, he doesn't do too many things now. Let's see, he was born 1919.
Tell them to sit here so that they can listen to our conversation.
I think it's 1918, 1919.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
So he's about 4 years younger than me, huh? Because Colonel Labs is 3 years younger than me.
Tell me with that children.
Yes, he's, in fact, we interviewed Colonel Ramsey yesterday
Yeah.
in Los Angeles, and very, very nice man, very nice man.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
gracious man.
Yeah, it's a nice
So we
guy.
have a-
We used to lead demonstration in LA before.
Mhm.
And you know, he was evacuated, did he tell you about, he was evacuated to the United States
Mhm.
in 1945, because he
Yes.
was very sick.
He was very sick. He collapsed. He did it twice
Yeah.
in 2 weeks, and so General MacArthur sent him home right away.
And the one who took his place when he left was Luis Villarreal.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he spoke very highly of it.
Yeah, well, he just died last year.
Oh, he just did. Yeah, he spoke very highly of him.
Yeah.
He was a very interesting story, and a lot of the parallels, things I wanted, when you've done something, you want to go back and redo it, and some of the things I wanted to talk to you about again.
You know, Ramsey, I admire the way he escaped, my God.
Oh, yes. Well, it was
He
interesting.
was with Prager, isn't it? He was with Prager. It was Prager is senior to him.
Mhm. Well, what I thought was interesting was when he, when the, Bobo was after him in the city.
Yeah.
Closed down everything.
Oh yeah.
The whole city was closed down to try and find him, street by street, and so he couldn't get out. And there's a guy named Wally Roeder who ran the gas companies, and he was
Oh yeah. We have a
So-
common denominator with Ed there because of this. Did he mention to you this guy, this old double agent, Franco Vera Reyes?
C10, 15 or something.
Yeah, Franco Vera Reyes. You know, he was.
He was a double.
He was able to convince a lot of people that he came from Australia.
You told me about that plant he sent you, and how he said to send you your roster.
Yeah,
And you said that-
he gave me a code name, and all those that answered with that code name were all killed. I did not answer him.
No, it's very,
And that Franco wanted to talk to Ed.
Mhm. I
And
knew-
that's how they know that he was in Manila because.
Well, he planted, he told, Rojas.
Yeah, Rojas.
He
He's
told,
in contact with-
Mona, so he told Rojas.
Yes. Rojas knows
I
a
wanted
lot.
to see what, and it came back,
Yeah.
almost immediately, Rojas told it. It came back word for word, so he knew it was a
Yeah,
player.
Well, that's why what you're doing is very invaluable because these people are alive and you're lucky that you're so into them.
It's a wonderful, wonderful experience to be able to share this information. It's, but the areas what I wanted to chat with you on yours one, some of the, I'm reading about the food stuff because, as a dispatcher there, and Villarreal was in the quartermaster court.
Yeah.
So, I was, we were talking about, I remember I talked about, you bought a boatload of food in at one time.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to see where that went. Would that go to Corregidor, did that go to Bataan?
It went to, of course, we delivered it to Corregidor. And Corregidor, it was G4, who ordered us to do that, and so they received it. And we presume that they shared Bataan, for the rice and cattle.
Well, I was looking at, no one had ever told me the story about scuttling all the boats in
In
Manila.
Manila, oh yeah, that was illegal order.
Yes.
And he told me so, that he told me, the general told me. And I was so young and everything, talking to a man like him. It was awesome to talk to, imagine, talking to the general, he was telling me, oh, we have ships there. I want them sunk or scattered. Are you willing to do it? My dad was a young
You're not gonna tell.
young second lieutenant all the time. Yes, sir. All the time. Yes, sir. It's a knee-jerk reaction. See, but it's illegal to operate there. It's an open city. Are you still willing to? Yes, sir.
When you were about 23 then, 24.
No, I was 26.
26 in this year.
I was 26. Well, because my being with him is because of his naval advisor, Sidney Huff. Because Sidney Huff was the naval advisor. And I don't know how he became very close to MacArthur. He was a lieutenant only. He was a lieutenant in the reserve. And then when the war broke out, he was a major.
In the army.
Army, yes, major army. So, my God, I was amazed. How come this MacArthur met a lieutenant, a senior grade lieutenant, and major in the army?
He made all the rules any way he wanted.
Yeah, he's quite very powerful.
Well, I thought it was
And
interesting.
he came out general when he returned. And we were both bachelor at the time, that's why we were good friends. But when he arrived back in 1945, he married an Australian wife, and a brigadier general, and senior aide of MacArthur. Half, SUM. And I remained in communication with him after the time he died. He died in La Jolla.
Close by.
La Jolla,
That's where Dr. Tony lives in La Jolla. So we'll see him on Thursday.
Yeah. Maybe he heard about Sidney Hopper.
Well, he was,
He died in 1947.
because you were, that, yeah, when you were there, because you know, one of the things I forgot to ask you, that I wanted to get on tape, and I'll do that next time, because you had both an English name and a Filipino name. And you explained to me how your father had adopted the name and made sure that everybody in the family. And so I wanted to get that on tape, so I'll glad to remember that. Because I think that's an important thing for people to understand, you know, that.
You know, when I met my wife in the mountains, you know, he met that fellow Tom Thompson from the Island Scouts, you know,
Yes.
and she was
I was appointed as his secretary.
secretary in the mountain. He was, you know, Island Scouts intelligence unit, you know.
Yes, well done.
He had an assistant, Sergeant Scott, you know,
Mhm.
who runs the
Generator.
you know, and they receive the messages. It's ano ginagawa niyo? What do you do? You trust, you know? You write all the messages.
Yeah.
In code or what?
Yeah.
Mhm.
In the mountains, you know. That's why he meet the, I think, young Alam Scouts, you know, to which I was attached.
Mm-hmm.
And he was responsible for the recognition of our unit.
Yes.
Yeah, we were recognized. We were about 2,000. About 2,000.
He's still alive,
Still alive.
but he was unable to see him 4 years ago because he lives very far from
He lives
Missouri.
in Salisbury,
Mm.
Missouri.
Mhm.
And he told me, you know, he's already retired. You know, he cannot meet me in St. Louis because our meeting place was St. Louis. You know,
Missouri.
Yeah, you're lucky you met some of those people.
he regretted that he could not meet
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
And I tell you, I sent some pictures of us, you know, and he was very happy, you know.
Of course,
Yeah.
it's a good reunion. I
You
would like to,
know, I think
I would like to meet some Japanese. And this Japanese I want to meet was a good Japanese.
The one you told me about who was,
This Lieutenant Fukushima, the
yeah.
one who captured
the
me.
man who captured you. You know, that was, you know, one of the things I think is very important is the way you were treated and Moses treated on Bataan. And the way you were treated, because you were surrendered to Guerilla. And as a Navy person, and then you surrendered to Fukushima, which is different. So, I mean, he was a naval guy.
Yes.
Very
He was
different.
a gentleman, my God.
Well, also
He did
the-
not get any single item from us.
Well, see, also the difference is, Kenny learned Japanese in the prison camp to stay alive, to barter, and to negotiate.
Yeah.
And so he learned Japanese. So when he, after the war, and he was speaking to Japanese Americans, and I said, oh my gosh, that's gutter Japanese. Well, the prison camp prisoners, the German guards, the Japanese guards, were of the lowest class, uneducated. And they used a lot of brutality in their military. That's the way they instilled obedience. The officers would beat the junior officers would beat the senior and NCOs right on down. And they would beat them in public in front of their subordinates. Terrible thing. And so low-class people, no education, they beat anybody else. And of course, as prisoners, that was the lowest animal under their system. So when he learned that Japanese, and so that's why I thought it was interesting. If we kind of do some of the research on the guards, there's a film, I think I sent you the information on it, that just was released in Japan. Interviewed about 35 Japanese officers who were involved in the experimental camp in Manchuria, medical camps and prison camps and other places. And they made a film of the interview. A very strong film. And I've been trying to get a copy of it and I haven't yet. And it was supposed to be a premiere in LA. It was in San Francisco a month or two ago. It's supposed to be in Los Angeles this month, and I haven't found the date yet for the premiere. And it's very strong because it's a full interview, so there's nothing, and no editing in it. And I thought it was interesting because when you're talking about Fukushima,
Yes.
who was an educated naval officer, versus very uneducated prison guards. And there was a very big difference in the treatment of the prisoners. And that's why Hama, oh, of course, Guerilla, when he was sent to this rejuvenation thing to Japan for a year, learned Japanese and all those things. And when Laurel's son did a boycott, which was interesting, and he measured politically that if they did a boycott, they could still survive because he felt the Japanese needed them more than they needed the Japanese, and that he was figured right. And the person who negotiated with them to appease them was General Hama. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, but I read that book of Villarin, and Villarin was, we were in the same boat, we were in the Japanese Academy. He had a good research there. The only flaw that he had there is when he claimed that he was hostage. That is totally false. Because
In
all,
Japan.
because those I know the group.
They were treated very well.
No, that group there are the deserving ones. They learned Japanese.
Mhm.
They speak fluent Japanese,
Yes, that's right.
and they were outstanding officers in the constabulary. And so they were rewarded by being sent to Japan. That's a reward as a pensionado.
Yeah, they were trying to.
So I wish he did not put that because that's the one that put a little shadow in his
Yeah.
book.
Well, when I
Otherwise, everything was well researched.
Well, when I interviewed him, and I asked him about that, because sometimes what comes out in the book and what they say are different, and or what they've written and what they say. And so when I asked him that about his treatment in there, and after all these years, and he
Yeah.
said that he felt that it was an effort to try and bridge. The Japanese were trying to bridge by using these people as a political ploy to open the public sentiment favorable to the Japanese by taking, because they were taken all over Japan and exhibited of the fine things the Japanese were doing with all of these people from the captured nations.
Yes, because they speak fluent
Yeah, they taught them
Japanese.
fluent Japanese, they taught them the culture, they went to all the temples, they visited all the cities,
Yes.
they met all the dignitaries, and it was very interesting. I thought. And then but it didn't work, and so they disbanded, the Japanese disbanded the program and sent everybody home. But he came back, and that's just about the time, late '44 when.
Yeah,
when
they came
lady,
with
that time, before Luzon was at lady.
Well, it was bombing already. They're bombing, the Americans were bombing already. Right.
Well, he said that that's what they were talking about, conscripting all of them into the Japanese army to fight the Americans, and he said, no, I couldn't do that. So he was able to get a friend to get him onto the presidential staff, so he was part of the.
Yeah, I was in the constabulary, the Japanese constabulary.
Yeah.
Because Laurel,
Laurel.
to the credit of Laurel,
Yeah.
he refused to conscript.
Yeah,
He refused that.
that's why,
That's why I consider him a hero.
Oh, yeah.
He's a hero.
even Fidel Ramos, to him, Fidel Ramos is the hero.
Yeah, he's a hero.
Among the presidents of the Philippines, he's the hero. And I tell you, so the old Laurel was my professor in taxation.
At law school?
Yeah, that's true. In
He's a
the
brilliant lawyer.
we have two professors in taxation. The political side of taxation and the business side of taxation. The Lupan was our professor. One Saturday. Oh, and I tell you, Laurel is very fluent.
Not only he's
Spanish,
very courageous.
Tagalog, and English. Boy. And really, his brain, he's
Well, it took quite an art form to be able to be in the middle.
yeah,
Tough job
Yeah.
to be in the middle
yeah.
like that and still survive.
Oh, I tell you, I saw Laurel, even before the war. When Laurel and Recto were combatants, in the electoral, senatorial election, boy, I spent nights, listening to them.
They're great.
Because at that time, the political debate is made in one platform. we had a small kiosk, in Malanay. Laurel speak, after Laurel Recto, they change, in the same stage. Political debate, boy, they speak Tagalog, one at a time he speaks English, then Spanish, But Laurel is fluent in English than Recto. Recto came to know English only later on, But both of them were very brilliant, And I remember, Laurel, even at the time, I recognize, he is that leader. He has the leadership,
Now, I don't know that much about Philippine history, about what happened after the war and the treatment of Laurel. What was his treatment? How was he treated after the after the war in the Philippines?
Okay.
He was,
Laurel,
Was he treated like Vichy French as a collaborator? How was he treated?
It is what happened. Liberation, the Philippine government created the People's Court. Those people
as
who
well,
were, who were charged with collaboration with the enemy were tried by the People's Court. And I tell you, the Filipino people, sympathize with Laurel because they knew
yeah.
what he did, the sacrifices he did. Because, in the case of Rojas, for instance,
He was a
Rojas was
collaborator. He was a collaborator.
collaborated also, in Mindanao, but he did nothing, But Laurel, he risked his life against the Japanese, Now, Laurel was tried by the People's Court. Then comes President Rojas,
Give amnesty.
liberal. He was newly elected president. He granted amnesty
Well,
to all.
the Rojas, in the first place, the collaboration issue was
Yeah.
very unpopular.
Yeah.
And it came about only because of Secretary of Interior, Harold Ikes,
Oh, yes.
of the United States.
Yes.
Mm.
He was the one who made that pronouncement that
Yeah.
when we issued General Order Number 20, he says that anybody that worked
For the
with the Japanese is a collaborator and a traitor to his country. And MacArthur was protesting. He says, I know my officers. They have been loyal all the time. But in spite of that, because Ikes is a
interior.
higher, so we have got to do that as a policy. So everybody, I was a collaborator because I served the Japanese,
Yeah.
but I was cleared immediately.
The Philippine government, Philippine government at the time was directly under the Secretary
Ikes.
directly. That's why he has.
Very powerful.
He was powerful. As far as the government is concerned, he dictated. Yeah? And he was Secretary of Interior.
Yeah.
And the Philippine government, Commonwealth government, was directly under
Under the
Secretary of
Department of
Interior.
Interior, that's right.
That's why Ikis was.
So the collaboration issue became an
Yeah.
issue, political issue.
Oh,
So
yes.
when the presidential election came, Rojas, collaborator against Osmeña, who is not a collaborator, Osmeña was badly beaten
By Rojas.
by Rojas.
Yes, well, see, one of the interesting things when I spoke to Colonel Ramsey yesterday,
Yeah.
and before Manila was completely secured, he was invited by MacArthur to travel about 35, 40 miles out of his airport
Yeah.
and met with MacArthur. But interesting, MacArthur's chief of, he was head of administrative staff, was his old cavalry officer from the Oklahoma Military Institute.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was the same man.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. So they met for several hours waiting for MacArthur to get free. So then they met with MacArthur for several hours. He said, I sat on one end of the sofa and he sat on one end of the sofa. But he asked me pointed questions about collaborators. Who were the people I could trust in the new government? And that was most of the time he spent with MacArthur at that meeting. Just him and the chief staff was asking about, and he asked about Rojas. And he said, no, Rojas saved my life. Rojas is the man who got me out of Manila when Baba was after me.
Yeah.
And he said, no, Rojas did this, and and he cooperated. And yes, he had to do those things, but no, he was not a fighter. He was working with us as well as he could have turned me in easily, and he did not. So it was very interesting. So when I began to see the presidential elections and who the Americans supported, it was Rojas.
Yes.
Yeah.
And besides,
And, you know,
was the man of MacArthur's
You
man.
know, and
Yes,
if
well,
I
that
don't know,
was,
you know,
that was why.
additionally,
Yeah.
Mrs. Quezon,
Yes.
Aurora Quezon, was for Rojas.
Yes.
It was in the political field, you know, in the Philippines. The name Quezon,
Very important.
very important.
Yes.
Whoever is supported by Quezon, President Quezon or Miss Quezon, becomes a congressman in the Philippines.
Mhm.
See? That's why when Doña Aurora, we call her Doña Aurora, supported Rojas' victory was assured. You see?
Well, it's very, you know, I think this is a whole area that we haven't explored in the United States much. I mean, you know, because we've been European oriented. I mean, all of our politics, the Second World War, everything was geared toward Europe. And so that, not that the Pacific was the only thing, but I think it's very important. So we got a lot of stuff on the Vichy French, you know, a lot of stuff on, I mean, it's all over the place. But you can't find a thing, hardly anything in history books or the History Channel or anything about the occupation of the Philippines. I mean, you have MacArthur getting kicked out in Bataan and Guerilla in Death March. And then nothing happened until liberation, as far as history is concerned. I mean, all the way from you know, April of '42 until May and June and July of '45, nothing. What happened in between? A lot, but it doesn't hit our history books. I think there's the issues of the guerrilla growth and Ramsey's story of building from nothing, building an organization, and the tremendous treachery and the runners. I thought it was fascinating how you communicated. And I thought how you communicated.
No,
afterwards
what I
for-
admire
for
with
you.
Ed is that how he survived
Yes.
in the midst of the hoopla.
You know, even
Because the Hawks, you know,
The Hawks, yeah.
the Hawks are,
All communists
they were the biggest and well-organized
Yeah.
organization.
to begin with.
And their policy is that to kill everybody that will invade their power.
I have
And
experience.
how did he survive?
Yes, that's right.
The Hawks.
You know, I have experience with the Hawks, you know.
Yeah.
You know, when Bears Guerrillas in the Tagumpay, you know, was given instruction to contact, and I remember the message, contact Direct Vera, no? Direct Vera, my commanding officer, Direct Vera, contact Thompson, Barrio Orita. That's Mama Oman, you know, very brief.
Yeah.
Contact, Direct Vera, contact Thompson, Barrio Orita. So I was the one, you know, assigned with the brother of Inhente, ako, and then the fellow by the name of Samson, and another enlistment. Kami lima, we were five. We were directed to walk and go to Mauman, that is Mount Banao yan, in the area. Along the way, we encountered, you know, patrols of the Hukbala, and I was arrested. On the way to contact Thompson in Barrio Orita, of the Alam Scouts, I was arrested by the Hukbala, you know. I had, you know, I had carbine already, you know, and I had pistol, you know, and I had 1945 bullets, you know. You know, among the materials for propaganda is a bullet marked 1945. You know? That means to show that it was not, you know, it came from the United States. And then we had cigarette, you know, and then chocolate. You see, I shall return.
On the chocolate.
Sure.
Yeah, I thought that was
Okay.
wonderful, the
Okay.
things that they were handing out with
I
shall return on
I-
chocolate bars,
I had that.
cigarette bars.
I had it, you know. When I was arrested by the Hopalahat in Mount Banahaw, you know.
Yes.
Well, we were not hard, you know. We were not even disarmed, you know. But we were kept in a small hut, you know. And until the morning, you know, we were four of us, you know. We were kept in that small hut, you know. The following day, we were going to be investigated by the Hawks, you know. Fortunately, I have a classmate who is the Hawk, a member of the Hawk of Bala movement. The name is Guerilla, who became the administrator of SSS. Later on, you know, he was my classmate. Because the Hukbala said that we were Makapili. Makapili were pro-Japanese organization in Makapili, you know. Okay. So we were investigated. Within the time. He cannot be Makapili. He's my classmate, you know. So I was released. You know? I was released by the Hukbala, you know. And I was even guided to this Banyo Retap, you know.
Oh, I have a copy of we're talking about orders and stuff.
Yeah.
I asked Colonel Ramsey for some of the radiograms.
Yeah.
You know, MacArthur Ramsey, McCarthy.
Yeah.
And one was pretty interesting because it had requests for military things.